And welcome back to the Downshift, and on this episode we actually have a Renault Safrane. You might not have even heard of one of those, you might not have ever seen one before, but it's definitely a thing. We've got one right here as well. It's a 5-cylinder, and it's probably one of the comfiest cars I have ever been in. So Renault Safrane, let's take a look around it.
You think French cars, naturally you think small economical hatchbacks, maybe hot hatchbacks. We're all familiar with Clios and the hot versions of those, Peugeot 205s, the GTI versions of those, etc, etc. But what if I told you that way back when the French car makers made big comfy barges for the masses, and this is one right here. This is a Renault Safrane. Now back in the day this was the flagship Renault. It competed with the likes of 5 Series and your higher end Mondeos with V6s in them for the executive market. Now, I will admit, they didn't sell well, they depreciated to nothing overnight, but let's be honest with ourselves, just because something fails first time round doesn't mean it can't become cool later on in life. And that is exactly what big French barges are, that I think they will have their day. Already, the big hydraulic suspended Citroens, they're fetching killer money. People are getting fond over big Peugeots, the 605s and what have you. One day, Safrane will have its moment. At the moment, it's fairly dirty. This is a daily driver. It's approaching 200,000 miles fairly rapidly because I do use it as it was intended. And believe you me, a big automatic comfy barge like this, as a daily at least, changes your life. As you can tell, this is daily driven. It's absolutely filthy. Keeping it clean this time of year. It's January when we're recording this, and whose bright idea was that again? But I digress. Now, Renaults, in fact any French car, they're always full of interesting quirks, and this one is no different. So as we get in,
welcome. The vehicle computer is now checking systems for you.
we have the electronic talking dashboard telling us what goes wrong, but you can switch him off when too much goes wrong. Flip up air vents. Now, common Safrane thing, sometimes they stay up, sometimes they don't. That's fine. And Renault of this period, they were obsessed with hiding everything, so we hide that, we hide the heater controls, and the whole dashboard stays blank, minimalist. Personally, there goes the air vents. Personally, I like everything exposed. No glove box. This is the period when the passenger airbag was so big it was difficult to have one. So because we have no glove box, we need other storage solutions, and that comes in the form of little hidden door pockets like so. And I like to think, because these were used by the French police, I like to think that a cheeky handgun was secreted in there, shall we say. It's even got a decent sized boot. But we don't talk about that. And this being a luxury car of the 90s, cigarette lighter in the rear, ashtrays on both doors, but the weird thing is, this obviously comes before mobile phones were really popular, before tablets, laptops were still the size of bricks. They give you an extra 12-volt power outlet. What were your kids plugging in back in 1999 when this was current? I don't know, but imagine it, you're charging your Game Boy on that long trip to France with your family. Times must have been better back then.
As we can see, the Renault Safrane is pretty much damn well equipped, really. It's big, it's comfortable, it's 5-cylinder as well. The seats are like armchairs. Engine just absolutely purrs, and yes, people will say, oh, it's got a lot of power. You don't need it, to be honest. It's not as if it's built for travelling 108 mile an hour down the motorway.
No.
It's literally, it's comfort, it's practicality, and it's, I can't really find anything wrong with it, to be honest. I mean, as a daily, it's perfect.
Now, we're not going to suggest you rush out and buy one, because According to one chap who got in touch with me, there's less than 60 of these left on UK roads. They weren't that popular when they were new. Again, the whole big French car syndrome of why would we buy one of those when we could have a BMW anywhere. This competed with an E39 back in its day. Now, yes, an E39 on twisty roads with a manual gearbox is way better, but comfort-wise, as the cameraman who is behind the camera at the moment has only been in this once, and what do you think of it?
It was perfect. It was like being on a cloud.
And it's also one of those cars, I kid you not, I bumped into one of my old school teachers once. I was in this, and they actually said to me, "That's a nice car." And it wasn't a lot of money. It has cost a fair bit to keep it on the road and whatnot. I bought it with my heart rather than my head, but just that moment of that's a nice car just made my day, to be honest with you.
So inside the Renault Safrane, it is basically, as we've just explained, it's so comfortable, it's quiet. I can actually hear myself think compared to my daily, which I'm pretty jealous of, but it's kind of, I've only got myself to blame for that. But yeah, literally it is so comfortable. I feel like I'm in an armchair with a nice wafty automatic gearbox. And what I've just realised as well when we've just got in it, the dashboard lights in this thing, and just like, we're not even fully dark obviously, but it's just so subtle and
the soft
confident.
Orange glow as well. I mean, I was coming back from London once on a long trip, you know, motorway, freaking long, monotonous, gets dark, turn the headlights on, and just, it's kind of that, like sitting in front of a log fire, the soft orange glow, and everything. I give this car credit, right, because they didn't try and make it a sporty saloon. Yes, there was a sporty version, the bi-turbo, but we didn't get that. And people in the know about those cars even say they're not sporty, they're just really, really quick autobahn cars.
People look, like, they kind of like, it's either, oh my god, what is that? I don't know what kind of Renault, or I don't know what kind of car that is, or it's a case of, you gotta haven't seen one of them in years.
Yeah. This does grab attention from kind of
like car spotters. I've seen it on my car spotting page.
Yeah, I've been papped in this a few times. And also as well, the funniest one I had was that I was coming back from a bit of a classic car show up in the Lakes, and that Renault Megane 260 in liquid yellow, right behind me, coming up to a roundabout, I was in the right lane, he was in the left. There's a brief moment where we're side by side and he's checking the car up and down, and I'm just there like, oh, clearly a Renault enthusiast. Nice, I like it. It's attention, but it's not obnoxious attention, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You don't attract dickheads wanting to ask how much did you pay for it, or what brake is it, how fast is it. It's more people who want to tell you their personal stories, like, oh, my dad had one, or a neighbour had one, or Bayek, haven't seen one of those in years. And that, for me, is the right kind of attention on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Especially when I have a 90s Japanese project car that attracts everyone's attention.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it kind of breaks that like mold of like what you're on about there, about the whole like car groups and community kind of thing. Stuff like this, it doesn't matter how fast it is, it doesn't matter what's, you know what I mean, it's literally just, it breaks that mold of someone coming over to talk about it because of what it's like is. Yeah. And not a case of, oh well, how fast is it, or what brake was it, and oh well, mine was running more, this and that, or have you done this, have you done that. It's literally just because it's an interesting thing to talk about. It's a good conversation starter.
And as well, here's something I think